Hi, today before I get into some of the stuff I wanted to share, I'm gonna do a quick breathing practice together. This is a Buddhist technique from Pema Chodron, how to have a heart space awaken with clarity, compassion, and she calls it emptiness, which is openness. So we're just gonna focus on the exhales. We're gonna consciously touch the exhale as it comes out and it dissolves into the space. I'm not going to focus on the inhales, but we'll start with taking one big breath. I know we're just going to breathe together for about 10 breaths where we touch the exhale on the way out, letting it dissolve. What this practice is a practice of letting go. Now we're going to bring in the consciousness aspect to letting go, and that is what it is to be on a spiritual path. It's to learn how to release, surrender, whether it's attachments, identifications, relationships, clothing, whether we're used to getting contentment from either a cigarette or a joint or a beverage or alcohol or food, or gambling or porn addiction. Without getting too caught up in the labels, just recognizing a letting go of an image or a form into a big space of all. And this is for the sake of redeeming our own souls, which are become like caught in a fishnet, caught like sequins into many threads all around us with all the distractions and preventions of uncertainty, being able to know, I know. But then we get so caught up in that knowing that we don't actually really know anymore. Whether it's fears of rejection or abandonment, and so we cling to certain individuals or certain jobs. There's room for everybody who needs to let go. And before we worry about other souls, before we become expert healers or professionals, we've got to commit to a lifestyle for the rest of our life of being a self-healer, of identifying first and foremost as an invisible silent one who has cells of the body always changing, has thoughts always changing. They climb up on the ladder of our mind and then fall away. Some of them are in charge, they have dominion. And additionally also these double standards we keep, in our lack of wisdom or in our expectations of others to accommodate us, where we might take things so personally and then lash out. Even our angers, they cover up hurts and prevent us from repairing the ruptures in our relationships. Even our pride, maybe we want to save face, we don't practice communication skills like sorry or please forgive me, I was overwhelmed. When we don't take accountability for our choices or responsibility for our own actions, we do become abusive. We abuse the privilege of others' time and energy. We bring negativity into their lives, and in many ways. And I'm going to speak a little bit about that. But before I do that, I'm going to talk about what we consider the 7 Well, really six. I want to talk about fear separately. So fear is separate. Fear is really like, of impermanence, that something can be taken, including our conscious presence or our dreams or the breath, and we won't have finished everything. We won't have got it done. And the world right now isn't giving us any more time to wait for when we'll be ready to die. Everybody has to face the impermanence now, together, whether it's a war or a plague of the pandemic, or many young people are dying as well for other reasons to do with stress and loneliness. And the way that we self-medicate, each of us in our own way, often is to take in something toxic, which has to come out, and sometimes it refuses to let us live while it goes. So it's very important that we look at fear, but I'm going to speak about 6 other areas that we may call the sins, where there might be a lack of love, where there might be a lack of presence, of connection. The first is lust, and this is like just the desire, desiring so badly, the urgency of that desire, the infatuation element of how it could be the it. Then there's anger, which I touched on briefly. Underneath it is hurt. It's really a defensiveness. It's an unchanneled rebelliousness. It's a passive-aggressive way of expressing our boundaries. It is an inability to cool down and take our power back and feel dependent, and then not know how to draw the boundary between what we're actually able to do for ourselves, and that there is nobody except when we were a child, our father and mother, and perhaps we would like to extend that to the whole communities that we were in and all the ways in which we were forsaken and blamed them. But at this point, we got to each take care of ourselves. Then there's greed, which is, I don't have enough, and I don't have enough to give you any. It could even be what's mine is mine and yours is yours, because there's no way to know whether I got a little extra. And in giving you, you might network me with some situation in life that I otherwise wouldn't have had access to. So we never know how much we're getting when we give, or how much we're giving when we get. Sometimes we give away a lot when we receive everything for free. There's a lot of greed and stinginess, but there's also a lot of greed in trying to get anything free that's available. Then there's illusion. This is when things aren't clear, there's distortions. For example, seeing that the world is not based on love and that the Creator wants to torture us. Being afraid of the word God, and instead, wanting to be the knower. When we get caught up in the mind, which didn't create itself, and it's only a small part of us. And maybe if we've been manipulated, we start to assume everybody's out to manipulate us, and we actually get so caught up in that, illusion, that we're constantly trying to manipulate situations in order for us to look a certain way so that nobody sees any of our weak spots. And then there's pride, which is similar. Nobody can see any of our weak spots. We kind of ask for help. Identifying too much with mistakes, not being able to learn new habits, control issues. And then envy, which is an excuse for laziness, but it isn't the kind of laziness like we need rest. It's the kind of laziness which I'm not willing to make my dreams happen, and I'm going to feel like a victim and have self-pity and believe everyone hates me. And instead I'm going to say everybody loves you and you just have that luck. And I'm going to pretend that you don't have all the problems you have, just to excuse my own lack of ambition and taking bite-sized pieces of projects. And the only way to really let go of these, which accumulate in our body, is to release trauma from the body. This could be a daily exercise, very slow breath work. This could be a group practice where everybody holds hands even for 5 minutes, where it could be an eye contact practice. It could be mantra practice. Whatever it is, it has to be something where energy starts to move in the body, and then you continue with saying this thing or doing this thing or focusing, even as it becomes uncomfortable, even as difficult emotions come up, because those emotions have to leave. Otherwise, they will continue to try to dominate, and they may try to kill you as you try to live. So we've all experienced having the inner enemy. Next is increasing our compassion. This is for ourselves. This is when we don't punish ourselves for what we're not doing, and instead we learn positive feedback. Instead we learn how to say, I'm human. And we start to actually need a higher power here, because we need to not be the source of compassion. We didn't get enough compassion if we're not able to give it to ourselves. We actually need to turn to that which can grant us innocence and show us the way out. And this requires the next step, which is discipline. We've got to practice. I don't get everything I want every moment. Not because I am not worthy, but because I don't get anywhere. If I constantly need, and don't know what wants are, it's very helpful to lower standards and to be able to be without. It doesn't mean that I should suffer, lay naked in the snow, whip myself with a spiked, weapon. But it does mean that at a moment where I've had enough, that I pause and I say, why do I want more? Or when I say, I can't do it, and I say, well, what if I keep going and I don't do it the way I think I should, but I do my best? So it's kind of learning how to show up as we are. I may not have, the most confidence, but I'm still going to go and support a friend of mine. Or I may, at the moment, not have a lot of energy, but I'm still going to finish the exercise that I chose to do. And so this balance of discipline and compassion awakens the heart space. And the heart space is where we can radiate out. All these things that get repressed can come out. This is the only way. You got to go through. And finally, in this sphere, we can focus more. And this is the superpower. This is how to develop immunity. This is the best doctor. This is the medicine, is gratitude, satisfaction, focusing on it. Finding a sense of rest even when there's a spiked feeling. Finding a sense of wholeness even amidst grief. Focusing means we get distracted and we keep coming back and we say, this is my blessing, I'm so lucky. Not because I compare to everybody else, but every single day practicing some gratitude, just naming the truth. Not just using the creative power of speech, but actually focusing on it. Instead of constantly being part of the problem and seeing problems to be fixed, strengthening the muscle of gratitude increases satisfaction in all areas of life and actually rewires the brain to remove some of that hypervigilance. Finally, kindness and patience with my own self, with one's own self, while facing the fears, the shames, the suffering, the anger, gives us a chance to connect with everybody around us. It's sometimes very tempting to do all this work with just one therapist once a week, or with just one friend. But the truth is, if I can show up in various parts of my life, imperfect, afraid a little, in other words, anxious, asking, even if I get a no, not abandoning the things I was looking forward to just because the day was a little rough earlier. Trusting that the medicine is often in going around the people who I think I have to impress. They're actually going to comfort me. Their presence alone will take my mind off it. Going for that walk, getting some fresh air, trusting the process, even while feeling anger and constriction of breath. This is how we connect with people. We start to have a practice in all our affairs. Part of the morning till the night till the morning. And it gives us the opportunity to be honest finally and not have to devote such a massive amount of energy on faking and pretending to be okay when we're not, for the sake of others as if they need that from us, even though it's so much more secure to be with people who are okay with who they are and who are not so busy in denial that they're going to be projecting all over everybody with expectations, and nobody wants to be that person. So being secure means being honest. It's saying sometimes I do have to cancel. I am just unable to move right now. It's telling somebody I'm here, but I'm a little feeling aversive. I'm feeling hesitant. I don't have any sense of feeling prepared for this. And letting the other person say me too, and then giggling together is only possible if we can tell the truth and stop trying to be more confident, calm, cool, collected. And this goes for men and women. Unfortunately, in this area, most men have a little more pressure, but women also at this day and age are struggling as well to be honest about our vulnerabilities, about uncertainties, and how frail we each are just walking in the world of being in our houses, how many freak accidents could happen at any time. And the context of all of this work is the spirit is living a fleeting life. It's all a dream, really. Starts, it ends. Someone else's life is over already today. And we're here. Whoever you are and me. So if we're living in this dream, these things really don't matter in the end. There's got to be a sense of a mission, and because of that mission, it's worth it to face the demons. So now I'm going to talk about some defective habits, and I'm going to share that these traits are all things I saw in myself over the course of my recovery and continue to work with. Some are not an issue now, but they could get triggered if I'm in a difficult situation. And the reason I bring this up is because these are traits that need to be refined. What happens in a way is the software and the hardware meet, where some data needs, some emotions need to be zipped. You know, the information is very scattered. It infects many areas of our life, and they need to be refined. We need to find a way to be able to like carve away a lot of chunks, and then make like a zip file. We could access all the information, but it's not all over the place. It's all in one place. And the way that this happens is because we're all uploading software to the computer of all of us. And so as one person may too many times do an anti-life behavior, for example, me, eventually consciousness itself amongst all of us will inform me through somebody. It'll get wiped out. It's an antisocial, anti-life behavior, anti-compassionate behavior. Out of control, it makes life unsafe for me and others. So eventually, because it doesn't work, somebody out there is going to be the way that I can't do it anymore. And I could blame everybody, but it's going to come back to me. So we each take responsibility and accountability for the soul lessons that our spirit is calling in, and that these patterns are getting wiped out or zip filed so that we do have a right to get angry, but at the right moments and not in an abusive way. Or we do have a right to be depressed, but while we're grieving, and not necessarily every time we don't get our way. And then this way we don't blame others for the undesired feelings, and in fact these feelings set us free from old paradigms, from old patterns that we have no way to use in moving forward. So now I'm going to list a bunch of defective habits which are being wiped out of humanity, and including me, all of us. And these are being zipped, so we're learning how to use each of these neutral habits appropriately, and we're also learning how to move into the parallel universes that are available to us, which is always a lonely transition, as we have nobody to blame, and in fact nobody really cares as much as we have to care for ourselves. Even if we have great friends, each one is in their own body, feeling their own life. And so in this lonely, we go to a new universe where everyone's new to us, each one. You know, we let go of some habit, there's going to be a lonely transition to what is going to take its place. That door we're closing. The all computer is wiping it out. We can't escape. We have one relationship. We may do some of these things a lot. The relationship might end and we might, totally accuse them of it, but there's going to be another relationship. It's going to come up. These habits are being wiped out of the all computer. The computer sends down information into people that we meet, and there's no way out. It's a consciousness computer that we're all part of. So there's one way to do it, which is a willingness to transform and learn new skills. And the other way is through a lot more suffering. I'm encouraging everybody to get a healthier self by being willing now to face in what areas of your life do you do this, and start to learn about how you can zip these files into the right experiences, including if you need to do some trauma release. You may have to use these to get it out because they're trapped. These responses are trapped. All right, so downplaying incompetence. Another is weaponizing others' insecurities. Another is guilting. Another is screaming. Another is out of control. Another is shirking consequences. Another is harsh judgment. Another is denying the truth. Another is suffering to avoid change. Another is biased or inaccurate measurements. Another is an incomplete transformation. Another is false modesty. Another is thinking that one is older or more experienced than one is. Another is avoiding flexible boundaries. Another is wanting to be the star. Another is being pushy, or the only star. Another is being pushy, preachy, one-sided arguing. Another is selective memory. And the last is self-righteousness. And this is my contribution for the sake of all of us becoming a healthier self. Each one of us is a self-healer. And the energy of health wants to flow through us. And life chooses us. We have to choose life. And for today, I choose life. And please practice this breath whenever you need that we started with, of exhaling and touching the exhale as it dissolves into space. These habits too as they dissolve into space, and the feelings that cause them as they dissolve into space, and all the attachments as they dissolve into space.